Chopping and grubbing giant poison oak vines. William Hovey Smith, 2024.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And today we are continuing the clearing around my antebellum home. And what we're particularly going after today is what might be described as giant poison oak. The problem is I have been cutting off and poisoning this periodically over a period of, well, more than a decade now. But I've never really been able to kill it. As I can cut the surface vines, and that above the soil will die, but the roots have a lot of nutrients in them. They are huge, up to 2 inches in diameter places. They are long. I think my current record is about 12 feet. They extend out in this yard, so it is very difficult to kill them. Now, we also have a problem in this particular part of my house because this is where my electric lines, my gas lines, and my internet lines are connected. So consequently, I have to be very careful about how I chop through this stuff. In addition, next to the house, although we have had recent rains, which has really helped and enabled me to do the things I've never been able to do before, that is pull out these long roots. The soil next to the house itself is dry. So even though the ultimate objective of this is to put this on the stuff and burn it, my first step is actually to haul water to it so I can soften the soils and make them easier to dig. And in the meantime, we're also discarding pieces of waste mortar, broken brick, and so on and so on and so on out of these beds and trying to salvage what we can of the original bulbs and the iris that were planted here, who knows when, but decades and decades and decades ago.
We're going to work from one end to the other, and this is some of the thick of it. And those vines with the tendrils hanging on the side of the chimney, that is poison oak, in case you don't recognize it. And so we're going to splash this with some water and let it soak in. I've already removed one tree from here. This was a pecan. And I have more cherry laurel over here that I need to get. And the first thing we've applied back there is a good dose of water. While that water is soaking into the soil, I'm going to gather some dry wood here to start the base of the burn pile. I'm cutting the pieces so they'll lay straight. That way I can get a greater density. And so we have our pile of starter wood cut. Now this mixed with pine straw will go on the bottom of the burn pile. And then the green stuff, the poison oak and so on, will go on top. I've worked the burn pile down to where it's now almost nothing but ash. However, it is gusty and windy today. And the stuff I'll be burning is leafy, and I won't burn today. I'm going to stockpile my materials and leave them here by the pile. And when I cut materials and drag them out and drag them down here, I'll not put them on the pile today. I've taken a chainsaw and cut the tops off some of these trees to allow myself a little room. And we, as usual, have hound dog supervision this morning. One problem is when these large poison oak roots get underneath the foundation stones of your chimney or wall. Almost impossible to get out. And that's when, when they sprout, that's when you have to work them with poison, because there's really no other way to work it. But the poison will likely be more effective, at least because there's less food material in the roots for the plants to actually survive on. A little further back, we have a larger root mass that again is flat up against the support for this chimney. And I'll be able to extract part of it, but I don't know that I'll be able to get it all.
Support this channel by buying my outdoor books, business books, novels, and recommending them to your local libraries. Now, I have a series of outdoor and business books, and I particularly enjoy muzzleloading hunting and hunting with crossbows. And the most challenging hunt one can do in North America, so far as I am concerned, is alligator hunting. There is nothing else that puts you so close to a dangerous animal, and nothing separates you from a set of powerful snapping jaws but a few millimeters of aluminum or wood in your boat. You are that close when you finish it. And I take them with crossbows, muzzleloading guns, pistols usually, and knives. And these are described in many of my outdoor books. Now, if you're interested in taking an alligator, Georgia has the least expensive season for non-residents that I am aware of. In Florida, it's $1,000 right off the bat, just for license. But in Georgia, yes, it's much less. I strongly suggest you go with a guide if you have not done this before. But you can teach yourself how to do it. And the state offers pre-hunt educational courses to instruct you. Now, it's too late to apply this year. Our season starts in September, and it's already closed for applications. But seriously think about it if you want a real outdoor adventure.
And these are just some of the larger roots that I'm fighting through with axe and hoe and rake. This is a tangle of mostly poison oak, small vines and roots that I've loosened up with a grubbing hoe now and going to start working out. My objective is to clear from that gas line back to the base of the chimney, a distance of, slightly less than a yard, and clear out all of this material so I can work very carefully around that gas line. And before I start to pull this pecan sapling here, which has deep straight roots and looks like it's running right beside the gas line and may have overgrown it. I brought two smaller tools to help out. This pair of snips, and they're purposely new. These happen to be Fiskar, and also this claw to
help pull off these vines that are against the foundation. This helps in a couple of ways. One is it helps me find the root masses. And secondly, it provides me with a pull and dig point down at the bottom. Now I actually have some better idea about where and how these things are connected. Now we've got such a tangle, we've got to start pulling out of here. I've grubbed fairly well up to the corner of the chimney, and I'm going to see if I can pull that section of poison oak root out from underneath the chimney's foundation. And I'm using my lawn tractor rather than the truck, and we'll see what happens. Well, it looks like the root broke or slipped or something. We'll see. Yeah, that mass just snapped off. So we'll just have to make sure we put a good layer of poison on it next time. Well, Hera and I have made reasonable progress towards removing this giant poison oak. Got it loaded up now, ready to take to the burn pile. These were some of the bulbs that were originally planted around the house. A lot of these are spider lilies, which are really interesting little flowers. They've already bloomed, gone dormant, and their tops have died. And we have a few brave iris in here that were hanging on through all this mess. And yeah, we're ultimately going to put some of those back. The dirt itself is interesting. This is more or less what the original soil in this country looked like when the white man came in the 1790s. It has some organic content. It is a clay sand. It's easily tillable, and it grew good crops. Now this area where I'm located, between the fall line and the Piedmont, is on high ground. So consequently, we don't have to worry about floods here. We're about an elevation of 200 feet. And we're not quite so much bothered with the malaria and mosquito-borne diseases that ravished the coastal areas of the Carolina and Georgia. This was a desirable place to have a plantation, particularly after the railroad came in the 1850s. So you had good soil, a good place, few hurricane hazards, or fewer, and yeah, this was a good place to be. And it's attracting people today. We have halfbacks, people from the north who originally moved to Florida, got tired of the hurricanes, so are moving somewhat back up and settling here around Piedmont, Georgia. Not a bad place to be. We started with water, and we're ending with fire. As our poison oak roots are getting burned. The winds have calmed to the point now that I can put the leafy tops on, and as those burn down, we'll put a little more weight on them so they actually start burning the little trunks and branches there. Well, my fire is banked up for the night. It's darker than it appears here, so it will do very nicely till the morning. We'll check on it again in 4 or 5 hours, but there's absolutely no wind tonight. So yeah, it should just burn down very nicely. Well, we finished our little plot for today, and we've cleared this area over to the gas line, and we're going to work on that next. Now, we did find and remove some interesting stuff. This is old electrical conduit, and this was cut off who knows how many years ago, but it was nothing I did. Yeah, these breaks have been there for a long time. And we also found the remains of a tool, which I had used it back in here years ago and left. The handle has long since rotted away, and so we're going to remake this and put a new handle on it. I do that kind of stuff, and so we'll have something else to dig with when we next hit this. But now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.